Hey guys, sorry I haven't made any content in a while. Two things real quick, because I'm sure you're gonna hear it, and I know you can see it. Ignore the fan. It's balls ass hot in this room right now. So we're just gonna have to deal with the fan for right now because I refuse to put the air conditioner in late April, in early May. So we're gonna have to deal with the fan for a little bit because it is hot as balls in my room right now. That said, want to do a little bit of housekeeping. As you know, it's been, we might as well say it's been a month. It's been a little over a month since I have made content. There is a very good reason for this. Because initially, after the weekend that I took to propose to my now fiance, uh, I ended up trying to get back into the swing of things. And as I was getting back into the swing of things and getting ready to set up to do records, I ended up starting getting sick. So I figured I had a really, really, really bad allergy attack going because it's allergy season for me. Turns out, and this all came to a head all at the same time, my youngest boy, he ended up testing positive for COVID. I ended up testing positive as well at the same time. So, past 2 weeks, I've been fighting COVID. As you can tell, I'm doing better, much better. And as is he. Excuse me. That is what I'm left with, and not being able to smell. So, let me tell you what, no smell is very weird. No taste, which I did have, very weird. And what was weirder, and in the comments below, or even if you're listening to this on podcast format, audio format, I want to hear anybody that's had COVID. I want to hear your guys' recovery stories. Because for me to get taste back was very weird. Something I've never experienced before ever in my life. And that was that I, no matter what it was that I drank, tasted like it was laced with Tabasco sauce or buffalo sauce. It was super, super spicy. Even water. Water was super, super spicy. And I'm talking tap water, spring water, bottled water, you name it, it was spicy. It didn't matter. Milk was spicy. Tasted like it was laced with buffalo or Tabasco sauce. So I want to hear other people's recovery stories because I'm curious if that's just a me thing or if that's a legit thing. So comment below in the YouTube video or send me a message through Anchor and let's talk some COVID stories. Hell, I might just do an entire episode of Let's Talk, talking about COVID recovery, talking about what I went through, talking about what led up to it, because it's not fun. And if I can help other people realize that they could potentially have this shit and maybe catch it early and not go through what I went through and not go through what my son went through, I'm going to take an opportunity and try to help somebody out, even if it means I make a PSA Let's Talk episode. But yeah, other than that, there's really not much housekeeping to do, short of the fact that I have a new logo, which I will, give me 1 second here, I will bring that up once I don't almost shut my browser out. So bear with me because I didn't have this prepped because I didn't think about it. All right, share this. So if you're listening to this on audio, then I'm sorry, you're out of luck. But if you're not, and you're on YouTube watching this, then you'll see this. There's the new logo. Let me get me out of here. Come on. There we go. That's the new logo. I will be making shirts with the new logo. If anybody is interested, I can order shirts and I can have my future sister-in-law make them. I don't know exactly how much I'm going to charge yet, but if you're interested in the new logo, then and I think this might be the permanent logo. Other than if sponsorship changes, then obviously that will change with it. But being that Poddex is our primary sponsor, I figured that it would be fitting to have them featured prominently on anything that I use for merchandise purposes. But yeah, other than that, there isn't much housekeeping to talk about. As you tell, my hair is a little bit longer. So I really haven't combed it today, being it is 2:30 in the morning. But yeah, new look, new logo, new content, new month. That's the catchphrase that I'm using right now. So if anybody's interested in future merch, t-shirts, hats, I probably could do a little bit. If you ask for it, all I gotta do is run it by my future sister-in-law, and we probably can make it happen. So with that said, today's episode of The Ground Floor is top 10 horror movies that I have seen. So this is by no means the definitive top 10. This is not an official top 10. This is my top 10. And I'm planning on going to see The Unholy tomorrow with Jeffrey Dean Morgan in it. So hopefully it cracks this top 10. Which, considering some of the movies that are on here, it shouldn't be that hard to do. Considering the fact that number 10, I'm going to have everybody be like, what the hell? So let's just start right out the gate with the what the hell movie on this list, in my opinion. Blair Witch 2, The Book of Shadows. Yes, I am openly critical about the original Blair Witch Project. The scariest thing in that movie was the stupidity and the sheer use of language. This movie is actually a movie that actually has a fairly decent story behind it, and it's been years since I watched this movie, but I do remember being thoroughly entertained. I have watched this a handful of times, and every time I'm more not I want to say more entertained, but I'm entertained. I can sit down and I can watch it. It's not anything special, not by any means of the imagination. So yeah, not much to talk about on that one. So a lot of these is not going to be much to talk about because a lot of these movies, I'm going to tell you right now, it's been a minute since I've watched these. Number 9 is the same boat, and that's Insidious. I really do want to watch this whole franchise, in the order that it's supposed to be watched in, because I think there's a certain order that you're to watch them in now, because I guess they go back in time, and then they go to a ghost dimension, which warps time even more. It's really all kinds of messed up. But I'll be honest, the biggest takeaway from this movie was the bit where, and this is a spoiler warning, so it's a spoiler warning for like 15-year-old movie, I think it is now, is where you have the guy in front, like my hand's the guy, and then it pans like this, and you see the demon face behind him. That scene sticks out to me. I love that scene. That scene just was great. Short of that, I don't remember much other than the fact that I believe their son was in a coma, but the coma ended up being that he was possessed by the demon, and they had to save the son, then in order to get the son to wake up, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been a minute, so it might not be completely up on the speed of all the details. The next movie on this list actually started out as a YouTube short, and it got so big, and honestly, it was very creepy. It was so. If you haven't seen the short, watch the short of this because just thinking about it, I get chicken skin just thinking about it. But number 8 is Lights Out. I personally think the short is better than the movie. The movie's still good. The movie was what I expected it to be. But the short I feel is creepier because it's faster, and I think it's like 5 or 10 minutes long. So you get everything in a 5 or 10 minute window instead of a 90-minute window. And I feel like that's creepier because it just punches you right in the face the whole time. But yeah, this is a good one to watch. I would recommend watching this. If you haven't seen the short and you think it's just a movie, watch the movie first, then watch the short. Tell me which one you like better in the comments below. Personally, I like the short better. Number 7 is on Netflix. This is Doom Annihilation. I'm sure everybody remembers the Doom game franchise as it has just been revived a few years ago. I believe they just came out with a sequel, if I remember correctly. And I'm sure everybody remembers The Rock's dismal movie, Doom, back in the early 2000s. Yes, unfortunately, I own said shithole of a movie. Then I want to say there was another movie that was straight to DVD, and it was very bad. This one was made by Netflix, and this one was actually really good. I would recommend this one. This one is a lot truer to the material, if I remember correctly. And it's set up for a sequel, and I guess we're supposed to be getting a sequel from this. So I would say watch this one if you're a fan of the Doom franchise. Number 6 is The Conjuring. Probably, and it gets me every time. I know the scene. I know where it's at. And I have it in my head that it's coming. And I know where it is. And I know how they set it up. And I always do the countdown. I do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown. And then the whole scene where she's holding the match. And she's in the dark. And I believe she's going down the cellar way, if I remember correctly. And the hands go. Jumps me every time. And I know it's coming. I don't know why. It gets me every goddamn time. If you got a scene that can do that to me, and I know it's coming, and I know it's set up, and I know where it's at. Oh, and the witch hanging from the tree also. I know where that's at, and I know when it's set up, and it gets me every time. So they got 2 scenes that get me every time. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be on my list. Now, Conjuring 2 sucked. And The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Yeah, I'm interested. I'll see it. But I'm not going to go in there hoping that I like it. So we'll see. Maybe they can prove me wrong. Number 5 is my guilty pleasure. And I think from now on, number 5 is always going to be my guilty pleasure. And that is Cabin in the Woods. This movie technically is a horror movie. I feel it's more of a comedy. And I feel it's more of a spoof. More than it is anything else. I can't, there's so much to say about this movie, but this is one of the movies I do not want to spoil nothing for anybody, even though this movie is shit ton old. But oh my god, just if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's hilarious. Many inside jokes. If you are a horror movie fan, so many inside jokes, so many Easter eggs. It is amazing, and it has a what the fuck ending too, which is great. And it makes you want to see more, but the problem is there is no more to be said. Which is great. I wish there was a second one, but it isn't going to happen. So, that's my guilty pleasure one. I could watch that one over and over and over again and still find new shit. Number 4, Evil Dead 1981. How can you go wrong with this? Sure, the new one had a lot more blood, but in my opinion, gore does not make a good horror movie. This movie was just fucking bonkers from the Can I even say it right? Necro something. Necrodema. I'm sure I'm way the fuck off on that, and I apologize. It's been a very, very long time, probably 20 plus years since I've seen this movie. But I do remember thoroughly enjoying it, and I probably should watch it again, to be honest. Because, I mean, 1980s is like the best decade in movie history. So I should probably rewatch that movie. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll put that on my list of rewatches. Maybe I'll just do that. That would have been something I could have watched during quarantine. I should have done that. Number 3. This one is the one that kind of flies under a lot of people's radar. It's called the Belko Experiment. It's really, really interesting premise. A bunch of office workers go to work and just doing their 9 to 5s. Then all of a sudden the building gets locked down. And it's announced that only one person can walk out of the building. So the horror isn't about like creatures killing you. It's what humanity is capable of doing to itself to survive. I do not remember how this movie ends, but I do know that it was set up for a sequel, and there was a sequel being teased. I don't know if it got greenlit, but I know it was being teased. Matter of fact, I'll look that up right now because I'm curious if whatever came of that. Oh, and I got Belko spelled wrong. It's Belkeo, not Co. So, sorry. Oh, I didn't realize that it was Sean Gunn. Okay. There are currently no plans for a sequel of the Belko Experiment. James Gunn directs. Sean Gunn is the lead in the film. Yeah, and not seeing any good news about that'll give you hope for a sequel to Belko Experiment. So, sorry, guys. This is still a great movie, and it definitely needs to watch, and it definitely needs to be brought to the forefront of any horror movie genre lovers repertoire. And just it should be watched. This came out in 2016, and I've never heard any single person talk about this movie, and it's so good. Now, next movie is probably the what the fuck movie of the list, even though I did say number 10 was the what the fuck movie. I would say this one's probably more up to speed of what the fuck movie is. Because a lot of people don't realize this movie is actually listed as a horror movie if you look at it. Ghostbusters 1984. Now, pump the brakes here a minute. Everybody's going to say this is a comedy. You're not wrong. This is deemed a horror comedy. You heard that right. A horror comedy or a comedy horror, whichever one you want to put first. Either or, it's still in the horror genre. Now, Ghostbusters 2 is deemed a comedy. Straight up comedy. This movie was not deemed straight up comedy. This movie was deemed a horror film. So, I know everybody pretty much has seen this film, but I'm sorry, this is my number 2. And honestly, if it wasn't for who's at number 1, who's on the ground floor, this would be my number 1, and it would never leave because I love Ghostbusters 1984. I can watch that film. I know that film. I literally know that film word to word from front to end. For about 95% of the film, I can go along with the film because I've seen it so many times. Easily have probably seen this film at least 50 times. This would be my number 1 if it wasn't for the one that is on the ground floor. And the only reason why the ground floor is what it is because it is the granddaddy of horror movies. And it needs no introduction, so I'm just going to get right into it. The Exorcist. I have seen this movie once. Scared the shit out of me. I cannot watch this movie again. I've done it once. I have seen bits and pieces of this movie since. But I cannot sit down and actually watch this movie. Cannot do it. I have tried. I have failed many times. Can't do it. I have to walk. I have to walk out of the room. There's no way that this is happening. And I am in my mid-30s, and this movie scares the shit out of me. And The Exorcist was made, I think, in 1972. Am I right on that? We'll find out. 73. I was very close. So, yeah. This movie was made 13 years prior to me being born. And I'd say the 80s was the banner decade for movies. You get some good ones occasionally, and The Exorcist is up there. Now, I can watch Exorcist 2, I think it's 4 or 5 of them. I can watch the sequels, and they're like, they're okay. I've seen this shit before. Granted, the third one does have probably the greatest jump scare that I've seen in a very long time. And I'm not going to give it away because it's so good. And I know one it is. It's another one that I know one it is. And then it still gets me anyhow. And I've seen it. I watch top 10s all the time on YouTube for like what culture and just any top 10 that deals with movies I end up watching. And I know even then, I know it's purely set up that you're going to see this. And it still makes me jump every time I see it. So, but yeah, The Exorcist is the ground floor, bar none, will never be topped. My top two are locked in. You're not going to get the top two to move. I can almost guarantee you won't. You might get Ghostbusters to move, but you better damn well bring your A game because it's going to be very hard. 3 on down, it can happen. 2 and 1, probably not going to happen. But with that said, that is the ground floor for this week. Top 10 horror movies. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Poddex and again, also, I need to say this too. Thank Poddex as well for sticking with me for not making content for the past month. Because I'll be honest, I wasn't even talking. I talked to nobody really in the past month other than my fiance. Because in Poddex, if they wanted to, they could have dropped me and they didn't. So go to poddex.com or go to the link that you see here in the crawl bar or in the ticker, whichever you want to call it. I guess I can call it the ticker because it's easier. And use redemption code NERD21, which will get you. It's been a while since I've done this, so bear with me. It will get you 20% off, I believe it is. It's either 10 or 20. I'm pretty sure it's 20% off. But it's a real simple, easy way of supporting Hotel Nerd Network. And I just need to thank them for sticking with me because God knows they didn't have to, and they still are there. Great sponsor, great group of people, and hopefully this new run with the new logo and everything, this turns into something, and we can really build this channel and get the momentum back that we had in late March and get it back now. So with that, have yourself a good night. Have yourself a good week. We'll catch you next week. Next week is episode 9 of The Ground Floor, and it's going to be the top 10 shows that overstayed their welcome. So that'll be my personal top 10 shows that I think that while they were good, they stayed a little too long. They should have went the past year, maybe a season or two prior. So with that, we will call that a night, and we'll catch you next week on The Ground Floor.